Good morning. Today we are going to continue class 6 biology. We will be studying about flowers. Flowers are the brightly colored parts of the plant. They are the most important parts of the plant as they follow pollination. Now, what are the parts of a flower? There are basically 4 important parts of a flower. They are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Here androecium is the male part of the flower and gynoecium is the female part of the flower. This is your androecium, the stamen. It is your androecium, and this, the carpel, is known as your gynoecium. Here the petals, the brightly colored petals are known as very important for pollination, and the sepals, they are known for the protection they do for the flowering buds. The stamen consists of 2 important parts, they are anther and the filament. The gynoecium, that is the carpel, consists of 5 important parts, that is stigma, style, pollen tube, ovary, ovule. Stigma, style, pollen tube, ovary, and the eggs like substance are known as ovules. I want you all to have a close view at the parts of the flower. Next, we are moving to the functions of the flower. Flowers make reproduction possible. It attracts the insects for pollination. It helps in the development of fruits and seeds. Reproduction possible is only possible after the pollination. So, flowers first they attract the insects, after pollination they have fertilization for the development of fruits and seeds. What is pollination? Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. From the anther to the stigma. I will take you back to the parts of the flower. I will show you where the anther is. This is the anther. This contains pollen grains, the powdery yellow substance. From here, the pollen grains are transferred to the stigma. From the anther, the pollen grains are transferred to the stigma. This is known as pollination. Okay? The transfer of the pollen grain from anther to the stigma is known as pollination. Now, generally there are 2 kinds of pollination, self pollination and cross pollination. The self pollination are done in the flowers which have both the parts, the male part and the female parts. Generally, there are 2 kinds of flowers, a complete flower and an incomplete flower. A complete flower is a flower which has got both the parts. This is a complete flower, as it has got both the plants, the male part and the female part. So, here this flower can undergo self pollination, but the flowers which do not have both the parts, that is the incomplete flower, generally those kind of flowers undergoes cross pollination. The self pollination is the transfer of the pollen grains from the one flower to the stigma of the same flower. Okay? The transfer of pollen grains from the one flower to the stigma of the same flower, that is self pollination. And cross pollination is the transfer of the pollen grains from anther of one plant to the stigma of another flower. This flower and this flower. Okay? It is also known as cross pollination. Transfer of pollen grain from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same kind is known as cross pollination. There are 3 methods of pollination: insect and birds pollination, wind pollination and water pollination. When the insects help in the sending of the pollen grain from one flower to another, winds become an agent for the transfer of pollen grains. Water are also the agents for the transfer of the pollen grains. Other than this, there are birds, there are animals, human beings also become agents for the transfer of pollination. After the pollination, the flower undergoes fertilization. When the pollen grains fall on the stigma, they move through the style and they get fused with the ovule in the ovary. In the ovary, in the gynoecium, they have the ovary has got the ovule. The pollen grains, they get fused with the ovule, forming a zygote, This is known as fertilization. Once again, when a pollen grains lands on the surface of the stigma, it produces a tube-like structure. Inside the tip of the tube contains the male cell. These main cells, and they get fused with the ovule present in the egg cell, forming the zygote. This process is known as fertilization, which is very important for further reproduction or the further formation of fruits. That is all